Warning: the following podcast, which contains strong language and mature content, is unsuitable for children or for the faint of heart. The subject matter discussed will be frightening and graphic in nature. Listener discretion is advised.
When you want to hear about the paranormal, you get the Spooked Girls. True crime that makes you hypothermal. With the three Spooked Girls. Stabby snippets will give you dreams. Tara and Jessica will make you along with the Spooked Girls. Bring on the slaughter. We on that haunted ground. Spooked Girls. The three Spooked Girls.
Hey there, Spooksters, and welcome back to another episode here on Three Spooked Girls. My name is Jessica, and as always, I'm joined by my favorite ghoul friend, Tara.
Hey, Spooksters.
Today, we are doing another installment of, I think, some of our favorite, well, I should say one of our favorite shows that we watch often, which is Homicide Hunter by Joe Kenda. If you are a longtime Spookster, we're doing a Papa Joe episode, so strap in. If you're new here, welcome in. We're glad you're here. We affectionately refer to Detective Joe Kenda. He's a retired detective out of Colorado Springs, and he has several TV shows on the Discovery Plus. Which I just found out this morning that American Hunter is not Papa Joe's. Like, he talks about them, but they're not his cases. So,
oh, okay.
Because remember,
but this one is.
Yes.
These are his cases that he's actually in. Yeah.
And if you watch the show, you know that he's solved over 400 homicides. He's our Papa Joe, and we love him. And I've decided that we should give Lieutenant Brian, whatever his name is, I always forget his name. We need to give him an affectionate name. So
Uncle Brian.
That's what I was thinking. We're going to call him Uncle Brian. Papa Joe and Uncle Brian. Because, like, he also in, like, every episode, and he worked with Joe for years and years. But before we dive into this case and this episode, if you want to hang out with us, you can do so by heading over to all the socials. Our handles at Three Spook Girls. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, all the places. We also have a very poppin' Facebook group. It is called Three Spook Girls Official. We are underway with Secret Satan at this point. If you are new and you're like, what the fuck is Secret Satan? Well, next year, we'd love to have you join us in our gift exchange that we do. But as for this year, it is closed. All of gift exchanges have been given out, and I am really excited to see this get underway.
Me too.
Now I'm done. I survived. I spent Friday evening at work watching the end of session and sending out everything. So people got them early.
I love it. Exciting.
I was really excited. I knew this was going to happen. And I was like, please, no one be checking your email right now. But like someone was like, I got mine. I was like, oh no, I haven't finished. And I was like, I have to go pick a pizza. Everyone leave me alone for a minute. But you guys did great. I'm so appreciative to you, everyone who has been respectful of my time and the other admins' times. And, you know, I get it. The excitement is real with it. But definitely join the Facebook group because we do discussion threads. Just so many fun things happen over there. It's our little slice of the internet where weird and happy things happen. So definitely check it out. We also have a book club. If you love to read, you should join us. We do a monthly read this month for the month of September. I'm very excited because I got to pick the book. It is Murder by Cheesecake. I'm really excited. It is a Golden Girls cozy mystery. So strap in, people. We're going to be really excited. It's pretty much the last Sunday of every month. We jump on Discord and get together and just talk about the book. And then we talk about other books we're reading. So it's just another place that you can interact with both Tara and I and the mods as well. Because, you know, Ashley's all up in there and she kind of helps us so much with that. We're very grateful for her because we love it. And then we do have a Patreon. If you want to help support the show for little as $1, you get one bonus episode each month. And we have a giant backlog there, people. It is so big, so big. It's like 6.5 years worth of content, plus all of the stuff that we did during the pandemic, which Tara and I were like, we stuck in the house. So what are we going to do? We're going to do more podcast stuff. So there's so much stuff over there and you should definitely check it out. We also have our own stuff out there. Both Tara and I have Substacks. Tara has TikTok. I don't have TikTok. I mean, I do have TikTok. We've talked about this. I'm not great at it. So definitely check out our social media links in our link tree, which is also how you can get to our Patreon or patreon.com/3spookedgirls. Definitely check out all of the things that are in our link tree if you haven't already, because it takes you to everywhere in the universe that is 3 Spooked Girls. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into today's episode, which is titled A Gathering of Evil. So you know it's going to be dramatic.
Does it take place around Thanksgiving?
A little bit, yeah, actually.
The gathering of gave me those vibes. So
it's not directly related to Thanksgiving in any way, but it is at the end of November. So
look at me.
Okay, so we are going to go back to December 1st of 1991. Tara was just a wee thing.
A wee few months old.
Just a wee little thing. Papa Joe is going to be talking about a case that happened there. Basically, what happened is a patrol officer was driving up a road in Colorado Springs called Gold Camp Road. Fun fact for those of you who don't know, Tara used to live in Colorado Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Gold Camp Road?
It sounds familiar. You gotta give me a little.
Yeah, it's true. It's been a minute.
It's been like 10 years since I've been there.
It's true. There's a lookout place called Point Sublime. Apparently, you can like drive up there and look out over all of Colorado Springs and see the light.
I've been there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Yeah. I figured once I said that. So a patrol officer was driving around and kind of noticed there was something when they were making turns. They kind of saw what looked like a body down in a ravine. They also had gotten an anonymous tip that there might be a body dumped. So they went. And they don't get close to the scene right away because they, protocols. So they assume it's about a woman about the age of 18 to 20, and she's fully clothed and the clothes look to be in good shape. She doesn't look like she's been like out in the elements for a while. So they think maybe foul play. So they do what they need to do, which is they call in Papa Joe and Uncle Brian. They come to the crime scene, and what we end up seeing is Papa Joe says, like, please flip her over, just like get a better sense of what's going on with her. And they notice that she has really, like, the body has been there for a few days, I would say, and that there was a ligature mark on her neck. And of course, if you don't know what a ligature mark is, it's where someone uses an object to strangle someone. And so it leaves a certain type of mark on the neck with bruising. And then in pure Papa Joe fashion, because if you never watched the show, what he does is like he says these like kind of quippy lines that are like very, very like cop movie-esque. And he says, this is the type of death where you want to feel them die. And that's what they say. And when they get closer, they realize this girl is a lot younger than they predicted. And they think she's probably between the ages of 14 and 17. And so this also adds an element of sadness because of the fact that she's so young. There's no signs of struggle in the area. And they realize that this is probably a body dump, which makes sense because it was like down like an embankment, like a cliff. If you've been in a mountainous or a foothill area, you kind of drive and you see these like slopes going down. The body was like on a slope. And so they were like, we need to identify her. They went through all of her pockets. They tried to look for any kind of identifying paperwork or anything. She had nothing on her. Papa Joe was like, the killer, make sure they took it. And I was like, yeah, they did, Papa Joe. And then the only thing that kind of distinguishes this girl, because she's a blonde hair, blue-eyed girl who looks between the ages, like I said, 14 and 17, is that she has a small tattoo on her left hand that is the initials JM. And they were like, oh, that's really interesting, specifically because for someone that young to have a tattoo, that kind of stands out. So about this time, they get an anonymous tip about the body, and they say the body is of a girl named Maggie, and you need to talk to a woman by the name of Jill Yosef.
Oh, a J, by the way, just saying.
Yeah, a J and an M, and we have a Maggie, which is an M. Yeah.
I didn't even tie her. I was just like, him, Joe. Huh?
No, Joe. Jill. Sorry. Jill.
Oh,
Jill Yosef. Jill Yosef.
Jill.
Yeah. So Papa Joe does, what Papa Joe does best, which is he goes back and he looks up Jill Yosef in the system. And I get why you think I said Joe, because her last name is Yosef.
See, yeah, my brain guys today. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
They jumped out either way.
It's fine. So Jill had been arrested, and she had been arrested for going to a local department store and stealing a bunch of clothes. And she was not alone the day that she was arrested. She was arrested with a woman by the name of Margaret Fetty. And what is short for Margaret is Maggie. I know. I have a cousin who goes by Maggie. When they look up Maggie's arrest record or Margaret's arrest record, we see that she is a blonde hair, blue-eyed young girl with a JM tattoo on her left hand. And it's in the webbing between the thumb and the forefinger. So that little I don't know what that's called. Cove?
Webbing.
That's not right.
The little webbing area. Yeah, you just said it right.
But okay, I have to say one thing, for instance, because it's a reenactment. They always have people reenact these things. They clearly just drew on a J and an M with a Sharpie. It is so clearly a Sharpie.
I was going to be like, is it a Sharpie?
It's so clearly a Sharpie.
Okay.
I was like, because sometimes they get fake tattoos of they had a tattoo of a rose. And so they just get a
temporary,
a temporary one. Nope, this was just straight Sharpie. I was like, we saving money on a custom temporary tattoo.
We'll forgive you, Papa Joe team. We'll forgive you.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. Discovery Channel. It's okay.
It's all right.
So they are like, okay, we need to kind of figure out who this girl is, who she belongs to, because she's also 15.
Yeah, she's a child. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they look in the system and they cannot find next of kin. They cannot find a photograph of her. They cannot find anything. But what does end up coming up is a group home named Chins Up, which is for abandoned children. So Maggie had been abandoned and had been in this group home. And about a year before this, she ran away, which is really, really sad because, she's about 15, 16 at this point, and her whole life has just been a little tragic, and it ends very tragically as well. So the police end up bringing in Jill, and they literally go to her house, and she's kind of a little hungover, and she's like, can I help you? And they're like, well, we need to talk to you about this girl named Maggie. And she's like, oh, my friend Maggie. And they're like, yeah, something has happened. Can we talk to you? She's like, oh, totally. Jill goes down to the police station of her own free will and volition. She's like, I'm going to go help. So she begins to talk about Maggie, and she's just like, Maggie is my best friend. She's like a little sister. We do everything together. We're together all the time. And they were like, oh, okay. And then Papa Joe notices that Jill has the same tattoo on her hand, the J and the M.
Mm-hmm.
So they had matching tattoos, which I think is really ironic because if you know anything, well, you don't know this. No one else was in the room when this happened, is that Tara and I were discussing all the matching tattoos we want.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Last night. And I was like, I was watching it. I was like, no, not the matching tattoo.
Oh,
this isn't going to end well, is it?
Oh, well, we already have one, so it's fine.
It's true. We already have one. And she basically was just talking about how she loved Maggie and this had this bond. And they started noticing that she wasn't using past tense terms, that she was definitely using Maggie is my best friend. She is like my little sister, not was. They're kind of getting the feeling that she's not in the clue. She's not clued in that something has happened to Maggie. And of course, in the reenactment, they're very blunt. I have a feeling that Papa Joe or actually it was Uncle Brian, but I have a feeling that they weren't Maggie's dead. I have a feeling that they were not. We really want to let you know, we're really sorry. We just have to let you know. I hope it was softened.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just really abrupt in the reenactment. I was like, damn. Also, this is one of those reenactments where the people playing the other people, the reenactors were very kind to them. Let's put it that way. They were very
not
kind
accurate.
in selecting. Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
It was a filtered version. There we go.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So when they tell her, she just breaks down and she starts crying and she's like, what are you talking about? No. And it seemed to Papa Joe at the time, it seemed to be very genuine. The only thing that caused him pause was that her body language kind of was admitting guilt. She wouldn't sit still. She was very shifty, but all the other emotions were there. So Papa Joe, being the boss ass man he is, just confronts her and is like, hey, I have a feeling you're guilty about something. I think you just need to let us know what it is. If you're not involved, but you know something, you have to let us know. Jill is like, okay, I know what happened. Somebody strangled Maggie and I was there, but I tried to stop it and I'm afraid for my life. So now we're going to enter into the chat a new person. Her name is Melinda Stewart. She's 28 or 29 years old. They call her both ages in the show, so I don't know. She is married and has no record. Jill said that she was present when Maggie was killed, but it had happened on Saturday night. I believe this was like Monday or Tuesday that they're doing all of this. And that Jill had been hanging out with Maggie at Maggie's apartment with her and her husband, who happened to be a sergeant in the military, in the army. And they were hanging out and some other people were there, like some of his like army buddies were over and they were playing cards. And her and Jill were like, we should go out and have a girls' night. That sounds like a great time. And they were like, okay, well, we're going to go pick up Maggie. And they say this, and then they leave to go pick up Maggie. And then they decide that because obviously they can't go to a bar with Maggie because she's like 15 or 16. They go buy a bottle of tequila and they drive up to Sublime or Point Sublime and they're like watching the lights and everything. And then according to Jill, out of nowhere, unprovoked, Melinda, who's in the back seat, grabs an ace bandage that she finds in the car and then just strangles Maggie. And then obviously Jill was like, I tried to stop it. And she turned to me with like blood in her eyes and angry and was like, if you try to stop this, you're next. And I was like, immediately went, well, there's two of you versus one of her. So if you get Maggie free, you both could like, beat the crap out of her and leave her.
And why is she doing this just out of the blue?
No idea.
How did that get there?
Literally no idea. So, Jill feels really threatened. Then, Melinda ends up strangling Maggie to death. And then she tells her that if you don't help me, I'm going to like pin this on you, blah, blah, blah. Then they got out of the car and dumped her body over the lookout point and everything. This whole story, Jill tells, Papa Joe is like, she seems really genuine. There's not a lot that I feel is like wrong in this story. It feels very true the way she's saying it. So they're like, well, we need to go find Melinda. So they try to track down Melinda and Jill kind of gave them one little hint. She's like, I really think that Melinda is suffering from some sort of severe mental illness. And wouldn't you know that when they go to find Melinda, she has been committed to a psychiatric hospital.
Oh, that's interesting.
Very convenient. So her husband took her in because he thought she was having a nervous breakdown, and we will discuss why. So Daniel, who is Melinda's husband, has her committed. And so Papa Joe and them go to the psychiatric hospital and they start talking to her. And she comes in and it's so funny. Like, this is like one of those things where the reenactors are like, I was like, well, this is really good. They did a good job. So Melinda comes in and she's just like, this actress, touche to her. It was so good. She is carrying like a stuffed animal and she sits down and she's like holding the stuffed animal like a kid. And Papa Joe, like they're sitting down and he said she just looks at one of his lieutenants and goes, are you dead? Like a kid would. We're like, are you dead? And he's like, no, I'm
not. I've been like, are you the boy from The Sixth Sense? Like, are you from that movie?
This is what inspired The Sixth Sense. I'm not, not at all.
Oh, I was like, dang it.
Sorry, guys.
I mean, it was possible. This case happened in 91. That movie came out later.
Yeah, it's very true. They said that her demeanor was extremely childlike. And she would say that, like, when they started interviewing her, her responses were all like, maybe a kid would talk about, like, like grandpa's asleep or something like that. She was like, Maggie's dead. No, not dead. She's like, Maggie's cold. Maggie needs a jacket. Maggie's asleep.
Ew, you guys can't see my face right now, but that is creepy as hell. No thanks. But, oh, okay. I feel this is possibly intentional.
You are quite smart, ma'am. So we'll continue on. Melinda, that's how she acted at the beginning. And then they were like, well, do you know what happened to make her asleep? Like, Papa Joe is so fucking smart because he's just like, okay, well, why is Maggie asleep? Like, who made her go to sleep? Like, those type of questions. And she ends up telling almost the exact same story, except that Melinda was driving and that Jill was in the backseat and Jill strangled Maggie and that Jill threatened her. So these stories are mirror imaged. So they're like, what the fuck? And they're literally like, if Melinda did this and she's had some sort of psychotic break, like, does she even know that she's done this? Maybe she does think that Jill did this. And they're trying to figure out whether killing Maggie triggered this mental breakdown or seeing Maggie killed brought on this mental breakdown. They're like, fuck it. They lock them both up. They're like, they're both going to jail. And I was like, smart move. And so they go and they notify Daniel Stewart, Melinda's husband, that she's been brought into custody and that they need to speak with him. And he seems extremely surprised that there is any way that Melinda could have been involved in any kind of murder case whatsoever. That this is so unlike her. There's no way this could have happened. And he's just like, no, she wouldn't do this. And wouldn't you know that she has DID? For those of you who don't know, it stands for dissociated identity disorder, which back in the day would have been called multiple personality disorder, which is what he said that she had because it was 1991 and that would have been era appropriate. But she had multiple personalities. In fact, she had 4. She had Melinda Stewart, which was herself. And then she had a 5-year-old girl named Lemmy Sue. Then she had a woman by the name, I think she was like a businesswoman by the name of Amanda von Hoffenstein. And then she just had someone called the Clown.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
I don't like that it's just named the Clown, but apparently the Clown is a friendly clown and that none of Melinda's personalities, and I'm going to put air quotes because it's never confirmed that she actually has this disorder. It's just what Daniel says. None of them seem to be violent at all. So Papa Joe asked the question, do you think maybe she could have had another personality enter the chat and that one be violent? I want to point out right now, I know that there is a movie out there called Split, and it is very damaging to the DID community. It talks about like violent personalities. I would say for the most part, I cannot say 100% certain because I can never be. People who suffer from DID are not violent people. They are people who've suffered massive traumas in their life. This is the way that their brain is escaping that. And it tends to not be violent. I just wanted to say that before people start like going, a personality killed someone. I don't want people to think that at all. I don't want to do any damage to that community of people because they suffer a lot as a result of this. And if you know someone who has DID, please don't try to trigger them. That's rude.
A sleep clinic, a group of exhausted narrators and dreams that don't stay in the dark. Every night in October, nightmares become reality. Listen to this epic 31-part saga where the only thing scarier than the dreams is the therapy. Creepy presents The 31 Days of Horror. The nightmare begins October 1st. Listen to the whole series on the Creepy feed wherever you listen to podcasts. Wake up to the nightmare.
Factories have their own rhythm. Machines hum, data flows. But if your systems aren't fully integrated, everything slows down. That's where Verizon Business steps in to help. Our agile connectivity solutions enable seamless interoperability, giving you real-time visibility of your systems and data, so you can make better decisions faster. That's the rhythm your facility needs to move your business forward. Learn more at verizon.com/manufacturing.
OnDeck is built to back small businesses like yours. Whether you're buying equipment, expanding your team, or bridging cash flow gaps, OnDeck's loans up to $250,000 help make it happen fast. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau and earning thousands of 5-star Trustpilot reviews, OnDeck delivers funding you can count on. Apply in minutes at OnDeck.com. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank. OnDeck does not lend in North Dakota. All loans and amounts subject to lender approval.
So Daniel says that the night in question on Saturday night, everything seemed great. Both Melinda and Jill were in great moods when they left, and they were in great moods when they came back. And that it seemed like everything was really, really happy. And then they start talking about the fact that the day after this happened, Melinda's personalities started to like surface one by one, like in rapid succession. And this is what caused Daniel to think she was having a nervous breakdown, because I could see that. Like it could, if that was really happening, that person, that system is probably in a panic and they need to get help. So Daniel's telling the story. Papa Joe and them are like, okay. And he's like, well, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist, but I talked to a lot of them. He's like, so I'm going to leave that aspect to them to figure out. I need more information. So he goes, who was all there? And they said, oh, there's this guy by the name of, there's another person, another individual who's in the military. His name is James Catlin, and he dates Jill on and off. And he was over there that night, and he says that they were all friends. They didn't know this was happening until like the news broke about Maggie, all of that stuff. They have no idea. And he basically confirms Daniel's story 100%. Well, there's kind of a thing happening on Melinda's side of the family. Her sister, by the name of Penny Rhodes, calls Papa Joe. We are informed that because they've had like 2 anonymous tips at this point, they're both from Melinda's father, supposedly, allegedly.
Oh, okay.
But Penny is Melinda's sister. She tells Papa Joe, I don't want to talk like bad about my sister or my brother-in-law, but Daniel confessed to me that he destroyed some evidence, that he burned their clothing.
Oh, shit.
No.
That's a big thing.
Uh-huh. And this is kind of like a big deal. So basically, they're like, Papa Joe is like, this fucker lied to me. He goes, arrests him and confronts him. And
get him, right? Papa Joe.
He basically starts spilling the story. He basically says that the story is correct, except for like a little bit of this information is that they left. They seemed to be in good spirits. They came back. They were acting a little weird, but okay. But individually, both Jill and Melinda came up to him and told them what happened from opposite perspective. So Jill told the story that she told Papa Joe, and Melinda told the story that she told Papa Joe to Daniel. And Daniel is like, I panicked and I didn't know what to do. This is my wife and her friend. And I was worried that like something was going to happen to her. And I just panicked and I burned their clothes. And Papa Joe's like, why would you do that? That's destroying evidence. And he's like, I don't know. Like, I didn't commit murder. And he's like, well, now you've committed conspiracy to conceal after the fact. I can charge you with an actual crime. We don't know which one of them has killed her, but we can charge you with an actual crime. So he was like, fuck. And he was kind of higher ranked, like he was a higher ranked sergeant. So it was kind of like, this was a big surprise to them. They're like, this isn't generally what we see from people of his rank. Like typically they're pretty honest people. However, not so much. So they start interviewing him. They're trying to get these things tracked down. And he asks Daniel in one of the things, is anyone else there that night? And he was like, no. And then they come back again and they ask, was anyone else there that night? And he says, Silas Nielsen. And then he's like, oh, wait, no, he wasn't there. I mistook, blah, blah, blah. So Papa Joe is like, fuck this dude. Daniel lies. So they find out that Silas Nielsen is a man in the military, but he is actually getting ready to like get out of the military. And so when they ask Daniel, like, why are you doing this? They're like, well, we're not trying to get him in trouble for being there because he's like, he only has a little bit of time left. This, the whole like, this could get him in trouble. This could jeopardize whatever. So Papa Joe and Uncle Brian track down Silas at Fort Carson and they're like, hey, dude, what happened? And Silas is like, oh, yeah, I was there. And they're like, do you know what happened when the girls got home? And he said, no, I don't. I was asleep. And they go, when did you leave? And he's like, well, I was there all day Sunday. So the whole like Melinda having the DID thing didn't happen that day because according to him is that they were sitting there and like the 3 gentlemen, Brian, James, and Daniel were sitting at the kitchen table playing like cards, and the girls were in the living room and they start talking about Maggie because according to, which we'll talk about James in a little bit, but basically what Silas said is that the girls were really upset because Maggie had done something wrong to them and they were really done and they wanted to get back at her. He thought they were joking about killing Maggie. And he says at this point in time, James and Daniel show them how to kill her with an ace bandage, but they thought it was all like play, that he thought it was like all fake.
Why are you going to show them that? First of all, I guess, I don't know, but like, why are you going to show them that? I'm sorry. That's weird to think that this whole long thing is just a joke.
Right. I don't think Silas knew that Maggie had been murdered at this point, if that makes sense. It had been a couple of weeks, but like, I'm unsure of what's happening. And also he could have been scared because they could have tried to pin it on him.
Oh, yeah.
And at this point, the only reason that we know of Silas at all is that Daniel made a slip in an interview. That's it. Papa Joe was like, I'm not leaving this unturned. I'm going to go figure out what the fuck this is. And he did. So they bring in James Catlin again, who is the other gentleman who's kind of dating Jill on and off. And we find out that Maggie was a really bad influence on these 2 women. And that apparently Maggie had been like really into drugs and she would bring drugs around these 2 women. And she had basically been giving them like all kinds of hard drugs. And both Daniel and James were like, we don't want you to do this. And so they were really angry with Maggie because Maggie's kind of putting them in jeopardy because as we all know that military personnel cannot imbibe in any kind of illicit drugs. And sometimes just being around illicit drug use can fuck up your life as well, because in the military, it is kind of like guilty by association. So they were really unhappy about this. They kept telling the girls to stop hanging out with her, but they were like having fun. So they were like, no, thank you. What ends up happening is Maggie gives Jill an almost lethal dose of LSD, and she has a very bad trip and she gets very sick, and they thought she was going to die. And this is what Jill and Melinda are really fucking pissed about, because up until this point, it had just kind of been like a little bit of reckless fun. But this dose was like so bad that she literally thought she was dying. So they were like, let's get back at her by killing her. That's not really what you do, people. Like, no. And according to James, all 4 of them wanted revenge. So when they were sitting around in the living room and the girls were talking about it, James and Daniel were like, we're going to show you how to do this. And they were the ones, because the girls were also in James's car that night. So that's where the murder happened. And they were showing them like, this is how you make essentially you twist it around. Like, it's not just holding it. You need to like cause pressure. Basically, you're trying to like collapse the throat. Like, there's this whole thing they're showing them. And according to James, Melinda is the one who did it. According to Daniel, Jill's the one who did it. So they're kind of trying to protect their people. Now, all 4 of them are arrested, and all 4 of them are essentially charged equally of guilt with their relations to the crime. But unlike a lot of Papa Joe episodes, we get to know what happened to these individuals. Melinda was charged with second-degree murder, and she got 48 years. That's her plea deal that she took. I think they kind of determined that it was Melinda who actually committed that.
Yeah.
James got 30 years because he's the one who actually showed her how to do it and provided, the car that they drove and everything. Jill pled guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, and so she got 6 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
what a light sentence on that one.
Right. And then Daniel, since it was his plan and his idea, and he was like, this is what you do, like, blah, blah, blah. He made James show him how to do it, everything like that. And the fact that he burned the clothes afterwards, he got first-degree murder and a charge of conspiracy to commit murder and conspiracy to cover a murder.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Now, in most cases, this is where we would talk about like Maggie's family came around and finally like found her. None of that happened. The funeral home was like, we don't know what to do with her because, no one's claimed her. So Joe Kenda and his team, including Uncle Brian, went and bought her a headstone and laid her to rest themselves. And I think that is a beautiful thing because, this little girl was essentially abandoned in life. No one knew anything about her other than what these women who took her life and these men who decided that they wanted revenge for something. And here's the thing. These people were fucking adults. They were in their late 20s. They could have just stopped hanging out with Maggie.
Yeah, she was a little child.
Yeah, they could have turned her in for having drugs. There was so many things that they could do. And the fact that these adults were like, I'm going to go kill this teenager. It was so that they didn't get in trouble. It was because Melinda's husband is in the military. This is all my own speculation and my own assumption, but my assumption was that if they were to turn her in or abandon her or like stop hanging out with her, maybe they thought Maggie would go to the police and say, well, I've been giving them drugs. They've been doing drugs. And because it's happening in Daniel's house and he's in the military, his career could be fucked. And I think they were like, oh, I'm just going to do this to preserve myself because there's no one who's going to miss this girl. And they were just going to go on with their lives. And to me, I'm like, how the fuck does someone go from being like, this person is annoying me to we're going to kill her and just move on? Like, these people were psychos. It does make me a little upset that Jill only got 6 years. It really does, because I'm like, she's out.
She's been out for a while.
For a long ass time. Because let's say that she got 6 years because it was a plea deal. She probably had to do the full 6 years. But that means she was out before the millennia. She ushered in Y2K, a free person. And the others are still incarcerated. Well, actually, if you think about it, James got 30 years. You're older than 30.
Yeah, he's probably out too.
He's probably
not
out
dead.
as well.
Yeah.
Right. But the other two, the Stewarts, they are still incarcerated.
As they should be.
Well, this story was really sad for me because she was so young and she had just like no one in her life that truly loved her. And these people took advantage of her. And you can't tell me that they didn't keep her around because she was fun. And then they decided she was not worth it and they wanted to get rid of her.
Mhm.
They could have done so many other things and they chose this. So I feel nothing for them. I feel no remorse. But big props to Papa Joe and his team for stepping up. This young girl had a headstone, and that somebody, if her family finally like pulled their heads out of their asses and went looking for her, they'd have a place to come see her. So with that, that's kind of the conclusion of this episode. And we'll do another Papa Joe again soon. I know it's been a while, but we love Papa Joe.
Yeah, for sure.
With that, we will see you next week. Actually, we'll see you Sunday for Sunday Scaries. So toodles.
Bye.